Why do we want to go through this? So unit testing makes it possible to verify every piece of your code or every unit, it functions as it's supposed to. In other words, ain't nobody got time to sit around trying to use your broken app. And this is, we're going to get into this journey of how I learned the importance of this. So actually, before I show this, has anybody played Cyberpunk 2077? So this is a game that a lot of people were really looking forward to. And I was looking forward to it as well. As a matter of fact, I was in a fantasy video game league where we were trying to basically draft the games based off of when you think they would come out and how well you think they would score. So I chose this game 2 years ago. Needless to say, I did very poorly because they kept delaying that game. So yeah, somebody put Cyberpunk desperately needed to do unit testing. So that's exactly where I'm going with this. You got a game and you run into something. This is not what I would expect to happen. And there are videos all over the internet of all kinds of crazy bugs that this game has. I'm glad I didn't buy it. Eventually, one day I may play it, but this is an example of how costly it could be if you're not testing your code. Clearly, they didn't have enough testing. And I don't know what all goes into making a game of this magnitude, but they still didn't have enough unit tests. So we're running into this. And then it's not only in the digital world, this is also in the physical world too. And we're going to get into unit testing versus integration testing. So with the unit test, you're only testing one thing, one component at a time. But with integration testing, you're testing multiple things together. So in the real world, that may look something like this. You have a trash can that works perfectly. You have a hand dryer that works perfectly, but then you put them together and this is a mess. This is bad. So this is kind of one of those deals where you may not think about how things go together. So if you're not doing full testing, you're going to get this kind of experience. And then we'll get into end-to-end testing a little bit as well. And that will pretty much be this man walking into the bathroom, you testing every single thing that he does, and then him walking out. That's testing the full experience. So stuff like that is funny, but then, like I said, it could be very costly. So thinking about self-driving cars, this is a website called moralmachine.net. And I definitely recommend going to it because they have these scenarios of what do you think a self-driving car should do if like the brakes fail. On one side, you have two women and one man, to where if you just have the car continue to go forward, it's going to hit them and kill them. Where on the other side, you have two female athletes and one male athlete. So you go through each of these just kind of voting on what you think should happen. So like the next example, this one has one woman, three homeless people, and one man, versus the other side, which would be two female executives, two women, and a man that would die. So when just kind of looking at this, the reason I bring this up is because when I think about a self-driving car, without thinking about tests and scenarios, I would just build a car. It goes forward, it goes backwards, it turns, it works well on my course, everything is fine. But without going through all of these scenarios ahead of time, this could be something that you don't even consider. And I to this day, I don't know how they're going to go about this because some of these scenarios have kids, so now do we need to know ahead of time, are we going to be profiling people and having their biographies ahead of time when we're programming the car and writing all these tests? So this is getting a little bit away from what we actually do with the web, but this just kind of shows how important it is, the decisions you make. Like I work with moving people's money every day. So I would be terrified releasing code bases and apps as big as we do without having tests of somebody trying to send $10 and for some reason my JavaScript going crazy and it's sending $10,000. That would be horrible. So this is very important. So this is kind of how spending more time with tests has me looking around the real world. So quick story, it's story time. So my wife and I, we're different. She's a planner. She likes to know details and everything ahead of time. She's going to take notes. She's going to research no matter what it is. She's going to know every single option that exists. And she may even find a good option and she still wants to know if there's a better option. Whereas me, I'm more the side of let's go. Like I see something I like, let's go. If we're about to go swimming, you know, I bust through the door, I'm running cannonball, I'm jumping right in. I don't have time for all of that. And that's come back to bite me in this field. There was an app that I was working on. Actually, before I get to that, another example is I bought this whiteboard. So we've been at home, I'm thinking, I don't know when we're going back. I really want to set up my office so it's more like work. So I got the sit stand desk. So that's why I'm moving around. I bought a whiteboard, and the whiteboard says to you basically have to drill it into the wall. I'm like, I really don't want to do that. I have some double-sided tape that I've used on all kinds of other things. This should work. So I'm just eyeballing it. Like, let me put a piece here, put a piece here. Boom, boom. It should stick. I put it on. It's staying up there. I'm writing all my notes. This is like a good week. Everything is just going perfectly. Like, yeah, of course it's gonna work. So we're sitting on the couch, relaxing with our 2-year-old daughter, and we hear a crash. And of course they're like, what's that? I'm like, I don't know. So I go and check the bathroom. I don't see anything. I'm like, I know y'all don't think I'm about to go outside. It's nighttime. Y'all ain't sending me outside. So so I just stayed on, you know, went back to the couch, enjoying ourselves. So anyway, long story short, the next day I came in and the whiteboard is face down on the floor. I clearly didn't test how much tape or how much weight each piece could hold. And like, that's funny to me. I laugh about that, but it wouldn't have been funny if our 2-year-old daughter was sitting on the floor when I fell. So that's another situation where just not thinking about all of these scenarios ahead of time could come back to hurt you or somebody else.